What's going on, everyone? This is Matt, Squeaky Clean Air. Today we're going to be doing an installation on 2020, I believe, or 18. Anyways, Kia Stinger. Stay tuned. All right, here it is. I got it on the left. I already started working on the rears. Very simple installation in the back. It is a separated setup in the back. So what you need to do is you need to remove the lower control arms, the shocks as well. And the direct fit bag goes in here. So we're just in the process of getting it worked in, putting it in. Here are the rear shocks. Over here, I'm going to use NTCs, of course, because this car is going to be daily driven. So we got to make sure that it is the lower mounts and the shocks are not going to get seized. So the best way of doing it is to use NTCs, as I've shown in previous videos. So this Stinger is beautiful. Belongs to JRS Stinger 87. So it's the first Stinger I'm doing. I've done a lot of Jennies and I've done a lot of Hyundais, but I haven't done a Stinger yet. I've lowered a Stinger with springs, but I haven't done air suspension on it. Just so this would be the first one. I believe it's the first one in Canada. This is going to be bagged on Squeaky Clean Air, and stay tuned. Okay, so the whole thing about Kia Stingers is that they have, most of them, have adaptive ride control. And that's done with the shock, as you can see. And what that does, essentially, these motors tighten up and loosen up the firmness inside of the strut body, that makes it hard or soft. Essentially, this is what is a motor. So that's how you're able to custom tune it right from the cockpit. I believe there's different ride settings that will create a check light. And I don't know if they have a program for it to program it off. I know the BMW M4s do have that because it has adaptive ride control as well. Or traditionally, what you could do is, this is the plug right here, which I covered up, obviously. You can use a KW cancelers, and what it is essentially just fools. It's a resistor that fools this system into thinking that the car has it without throwing a code. But obviously, you don't have the adjustability. If you have air suspension, or if you have performance air suspension, your dampness is also adjustable here on the actual strut itself. For the most part, if you set dampness at an optimal setting, usually about halfway. Or if you like it, some firmer ride quality, you can compensate with the hardness or softness of the bag as well too, right? Based on pressures that you're riding. So it gives you some flex and adjustability when you have air suspension as well. Obviously, you don't tune the dampness of the actual shocks, sort of similar to what Teen used to have with the EDFC. Setups where essentially the motors are on top, which is essentially where they got the idea from there, where the motor is controlled, right? It's right on the shock. With the Teen stuff was on the top of the actual shock to adjust the front dampness and stuff like that. Which is essentially over here. You can do hard or soft. Because these are dampness adjustable. But anyway, so we sealed them off because they're not going to be needed anymore. Now we have the performance shocks there. The direct fit bag sits there. It's a little bit of an angle, but you do need to have an offset bag for this car, especially because of the trailing link over here and the way just the lower control arm is positioned. It has to be a little bit offset from the shock itself. So thankfully, we do have a kit for this car, and the fitting or the suspension line is right in the back over there, so it's nice and snug. So the rears are done. Very simple. Now I'm going to focus on doing the fronts, and then we're going to run the lines. Stay tuned. All right, kids. So the front end on the Kia Stingers. Major PETA alert over here. But essentially what you guys got to do is you have to remove the front tie rod. One. Then what you guys got to do is you got to remove the two lower control arms. Slide them out. Because what's going to happen right here, these got to be removed. That one and that one over here. They got to be removed because this one, that one, and then the tie rod prevent the yoke from dropping down. And the yoke is what's holding the strut in place. And unfortunately, you're not going to get enough clearance to remove this BITCH out. Because what happens is they're essentially cradling up this whole assembly over here. Now, we got it underneath the jack stand because when you remove these, where you pop these, control arms out, this whole spindle is basically supported by the shaft. So you don't want to let it fall completely down. So you need to have it supported. You can do, I did it with a jack stand over here, but you guys can obviously do it with multiple people assisting your, get a buddy to help you. But that's the only way you guys will be able to drop this whole spindle down so you're able to remove the yoke, especially with the factory suspension. Once you've put lowering springs and once you've put coilovers, obviously the length of the shocks is a lot smaller. And I've mentioned that on previous videos, right? When you're going from like coilover to air suspension and whatnot, it's a lot easier to go that way compared to when you're doing it the other way around. So we're gonna put in the air strut, and it will be Bob is your uncle, and basically, well, Bob is your uncle. Basically, we'll be able to put it in, so this is a lot smaller. So you never run into an issue if you're going from coilovers or springs to air suspension, whatever. But it's only when you're removing the factory struts, it's always a pain in the ass. But remove these, support the control arm, and off you go. That's pretty much it. That's all there is to it. We're gonna put the air strut in right now. Okay, and we're back, and I'm going to show you guys how I ran the lines. Very simple on these this Kia and a lot of the newer vehicles. Very similar setups. You guys are going to find that a lot of this is very, 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 very similar. So I covered it up because I cleaned it up, and right now it's static air, which means I'll be able to move it around. But essentially, and also there's a fuse box in here. So battery is on the spare wheel well, and the fuse box, which we can get an ACC signal, is right here. So everything could be wired in the trunk. All you really need to do is just run the controller, interior controller wire, which we're gonna run in and connect the controller when we do the wiring tomorrow. When I do the wiring tomorrow. But essentially behind here there's vents, and I ran the lines as always through the vents all the way out here, and then they mate with the shorter valves on both sides. Behind here there's a vent, and went underneath the bumper or on the sides of the bumper as always. Kind of over here, as you guys can see, they go around here, around the subframe, as kind of always, going behind there. Make sure it doesn't rub on anything. It protrudes down. You guys can see the line. And then right behind, or right below that, or after that, you got nice panel covers. And it's very simply, all you got to do is, once you've routed in through here, and it's the same on this other side as well too, away from the exhaust, obviously, at least give yourself about 6 or 7 inches away from the exhaust. This is the factory exhaust. Obviously, I think it's going to be changed to an aftermarket one, so it won't really be as wide. But anyways, it's close to the subframe, going through the subframe over here, nice and neat, out of the way, going down, and then again going behind the pedals. Beautiful. All the modern cars, especially underneath, if you can get to it, you can run a lot of the lines underneath the panels. On the earlier cars, a couple of years ago, I used to run my lines through the side skirts. Not a good idea to run it through the side skirt, simply because a lot of the guys now are doing side splitter extensions and side skirt extensions. And if you run the line through the side skirt, if you do a self-tapper, well, there goes your line. So it's not advisable to run through the side skirts. I will do an updated video on how to run lines, but if you follow me and follow my YouTube channels, then you know usually how I run my lines. And the reason why I want to do this, and the reason why I like to run my lines externally, is really because I really hate removing the interior panels, and especially on newer vehicles like this Kia, right? What if the owner wants to resell the vehicle, right? All the panels are not going to be aligned anymore. It's going to look like it's all taken apart on the inside. So save yourself the hassle. If it's a newer car, run it outside. Doesn't really matter. If you're running good quality line, Squeaky Clean Air line is dot rated or not certified, because there's no certification, but it's able to withstand exterior issues, and it's basically truck line, that we use for our airline, and it's you know, and it's covered by the panels underneath here, so it's safe, secure, out of the way. It's not in the side skirts. Going all the way through underneath the panel, protrudes to the front. Goes over here, away from the exhaust, and behind the line, goes over here. Similar on the other side, obviously, and goes behind here, as you guys can see, and then it connects up into the lateral line. Very simple. Just through there, goes through there, behind the shield, so it's nice and secure, out of the way, out of the elements. And it goes and connects into the ladder line, and obviously the ladder line connects into the bag. So nice and neat, out of the way. You want to make sure that the ladder lines are away from the axles. Even though the ladder lines are steel braided lines, they might rub out on the axle. So give yourself at least 1.5 to 2 inches away from the axle, which is over here. It's right above it. So, well, not right above it, but it's above it, but it's away from the axle. You guys can see over here, and that way it won't rub out on the axle as it moves up and down. So that's pretty dope. Similar idea on the other side. Goes through, comes out on the other side, and it goes looped again over here, and it goes into the bag. So da-da-dee-da-dee-dum. The rear is very simple. You just go around the subframe and it goes into the rear bags. That's essentially it for running the lines on the Kia Stinger. Super easy, especially because the bottom has panels that you could remove, and you can run the lines underneath the panels. Very, very simple. Okay, so I fast-tracked a little bit, and I started working on the trunk setup. So very, very clean, nothing crazy for the Kia. 4-gallon tank, an elevated manifold with a clean air management, 2 dual stealth compressor, nice and clean, basic. What the customer wanted is she's got a WeatherTech mat. So what we're gonna do is there's holes on the sides of this board, so it'll allow us to place the board on top of the WeatherTech mat, and so it doesn't slide. I put in washers and bolts that protrude up, and then that way it'll basically hold the board and it won't slide in. This liner will go into the trunk, which is over here. I did the wiring. ACC is going in from the fuse box over there. It's just a little bit messy because I have to connect the wires. The lines are going through, but we're gonna put the board through on top of this, and put the trunk setup, connect everything from the back here, the compressors and everything, tuck it away and clean it up and zip tie it, and it'll look a lot better, I promise, than this. But yep, so nice and clean, squeaky clean. Okay, so the Stinger is virtually done. There's a trunk setup inside the car. There it is. A little bit of an insight for you guys in regards to how to do the fuse. So what you're gonna have to do is the fuse in the trunk panel does not have any ACC sources. All the sources are pretty much live, or they're not switched. So what you got to do is you take one spare fuse from here. So take one of the 10 spare fuses, and the reason why you're going to do that is because you're going to get a TAPA fuse, but you're going to get a TAPA fuse for the micro fuses, because the KDM stuff, most of it is micro fuse. It is not mini fuse. Mini fuse is pretty much standard for a lot of Japanese cars. It's pretty much standard for Euro and stuff like that. But the Kia has to use the micro fuse. So you're gonna get a micro fuse TAPA fuse, one of these guys. And unfortunately, it's very hard to find micro fuses, and I wasn't able to find them at Sayal. So I took one of the 10 amp spares, and I'm basically just running it as a supply fuse in order to connect to the ACC wire of the management. So that's where you need to take one of the 10 spare fuses from the trunk, put it in here, and then this 20 amp fuse is a fuse that you get from underneath the dash in the front. You get it here. And what we're going to do is, because this one's ACC, the power outlet is always ACC. They're never live. So it's a 20 amp. We took it from here. The fuse box is right here. We're going to put a TAPA fuse with a 10 amp going right into the ACC circuit. and that's how we're gonna get ACC keyed source. And this is where a controller is. There's a mount there, a magnetic mount, and then we just routed our underneath here with a bit of slack for the customer, and then we just ran obviously the controller wire to the back, and then we ran the ACC wire to the fuse box. So these ones are ACC fused. So that's a bit of a trick for you guys. Hope this helps, but pretty much the car is done. So stay tuned for some videos.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.